Right, this is part 2 in the railway scenery modelling. In this case the embankment, the raised embankment for TT gauge scale, or any other scale really. You just have to adjust it to adjust the size to the gauge of layout. So we're going to be painting these rocks. Let's start painting the rocks. So I've mixed up some light grey, because whilst you do find rocks like that colour, I think I'm going to paint these more typical grey rock colour. So I'm going to apply some light acrylic over these boulders. Under there like that, to make sure you kind of scrub it into the porous little holes which these rocks are actually covered in. It was a kind of a lava stone. I'm going to be applying other colours to this as well, lighter greys and greens and earth colours. That this is just to give you a little example of where we're hopefully headed with these models. So the whole point is just to try and bring this landscaping to life a little. So obviously we're going to do this cover various areas. Now this is acrylic based. It's got some, this actually has got a little mix of acrylic thinner in it, a very small amount. Seems to aid the flow of the paint, and it binds it, seems to bind it to the materials in a stronger way than if it's just diluted with water. So hopefully you can see there how that's coming on. Of course we can also put some small amounts of vegetation, tufted grass, moss, that kind of thing. Some small shrubs, some conifer trees, because I think it's supposed to be higher up, or any kind of bush really, to enhance it, just give it that little bit of illusion, add a tiny bit of magic to your layout, or diorama, you know, any other kind of modelling as well, it's not just railways. Right, now you can see the paint's drying quite rapidly. As it's acrylic, it doesn't take long. Getting quite a nice effect. That grey's working quite nicely there. And show you a bit closer. There you go. So that's what we've done. that's what it did look like. Just a bit pumicey, which is alright for a volcanic landscape, but I think most landscapes aren't volcanic, fortunately, to that. So, anyone out there who wants to save some money, it's best to mix up your own paints using cheaper artist acrylics rather than shop-bought model paints. So collect a few of these whites, blacks, obviously for the greys. You get a few little mixing pots, very cheaply. You can buy in various sort of hardware shops or homeware shops, that type of thing. Mix your paints up in those little pots. You don't need a lot of paint, and it will save your paint and save your money. Then you want the tiniest drop of this. We're talking about acrylic paints here, so it's the tiniest drop of Pledge, that's multi-surface wax, and it's actually like a clear acrylic varnish really. Tiny amount in the cap. Tip the tiniest amount into the little tub and mix your paint in. Mix your paint up. Now we're going to paint some green in. So we've mixed a nice green there. Don't mix the paints too thickly. It's best to mix them thinner. You can always add another layer later. So you can always add layers, but you can't necessarily subtract them. So if you're not happy with it, you can just add another little layer, but keep the consistency fairly thin. And then what we'll do, we can put some little areas here. It's basically fill these areas in. If you want some more earth tones, if you think there's too much green and grey, all you do, just mix up some light earth colours, and then you can put those or some other textured powder over the paint, over the colour that you've just painted on. So we'll do that around the model, paint around the rocks there. It's quite relaxing when you get the hang of this, when you've got the materials to hand. The worst part of all this, or the tedious part, well for me at least, is just getting hold of the materials. Once you've got the materials and they're to hand, then you can start the relaxing painting process. And then it's nice to see your results just evolve then. And then before you know it, you'll have a nice piece of scenery for your layout, or a nice diorama for your model. So I think see how it's progressing there, the green in. Right, so that light green's dried now, but what I'm going to do, you can see it there, is I'm going to darken that down. So I'm going to put some darker shades of green in there, and you'll see how that comes out. You can stipple the brush, just stipple it a little as they call it, so you get a broken up surface. But try and blend it in also at the same time. Okay, now you can see where the darkened areas of green have dried to give it a little bit more texture, enhance the overall appearance of the model or of the landscape. You can see that there. That's basically what we're aiming for. So it's looking a little bit more naturalistic now. There. So we're going to add some, the next stage will be to add some darker washes now around the boulders and add some vegetation and a couple of small trees. So I hope that helps anyone else out there with a few tips. Thanks for watching.